Just a quickie. So later today I've got a new video with Peter McLaughlin, the author of Easy Meat, the only book written in the UK about the Muslim gangs who have been systematically raping and trafficking and prostituting young non-Muslim girls in Britain since at least 1975. 1975 is the first reference to the kinds of crimes being committed, this kind of specific kind of crime of gangs of Muslim men taking girls off the streets, pretending to be their boyfriends initially, hooked on drugs and drink, and then raping them systematically for 2 or 3 years before discarding the girls. That's I've got the second of our interview, chat, whatever, call it what you want, and it's fantastically interesting to me. Anyway, because Peter's written the book on this, started in 2014, did another edition in 2016, but he's about the only person who's done the systematic work that the mainstream media has almost universally refused to do. They keep coming to this subject anew each time there's another city or another town where it turns out this has been happening on a grand scale. But the specific target of our conversation that'll come out later today on my YouTube channel, that's YouTube user Brian of London, the specific target is what makes these gangs do this, and what do the members of the gangs all have in common. And it's not really the word Asian, which is what the media seems to do at the moment. They seem to be focusing on a race or a country of origin, Pakistani, Bangladeshi. No. So Peter and I will break it down, provide the evidence, and he speaks very, very well on the subject. And in a slightly related subject, overnight, Donald Trump seems to have replaced McMaster with Ambassador John Bolton, who is an interesting character. Now, some of the MAGA crowd, some of the Trump MAGA crowd are very upset, will be upset, because Bolton has always been unapologetically for the Iraq invasion, something which I, to be honest, don't think was the world's greatest idea, because I don't think Bush at the time ever truly contemplated the effect of Islam. I think Bush went into both Afghanistan and Iraq with a model in his head which he got from Natan Sharansky, would you believe? Natan Sharansky had written a book on how he and other dissidents, and Andrei Sakharov and other dissidents in the USSR, had brought down the Soviet Empire. But the Soviet Empire was not Islamic. It was never founded amongst an Islamic nation. It had some Islamic parts to it, the stands, for example. But the makeup of the people prior to the creation of the Communist Soviet Union was Christian. They were a Christian people. And so when the Soviet Union fell, they fell back into a value system that was inherently Christian. Whereas Iraq, Afghanistan, the whole of the Middle East, it's Islamic. The value system is Islamic. You can't just walk in there and institute democracy and freedom of speech, because there'll never be freedom of speech in the Islamic world, because blasphemy laws will always be too strong. You can't, if somebody cloaks themselves in a religious mantle, you cannot criticize them in the way that you can criticize a political party in the West, because once you've brought in Islam as the sort of underlying structure of society, Islam is inherently a political and military ideology. Those are inseparable from some aspects of it that we think look like a religion. The political and the military aspects of Islam are inseparable. So once a country is founded on that, and that's why the eventually a Western idea of taking Iraq and converting it into a free country, doomed to failure unless you understand Islam. Turkey's not a free nation. Turkey got as far as it could away. This is my bungee cord analogy, which I use from time to time. Turkey represents a bungee cord, and to a certain extent, Iran up to 1979, same deal. It's stretching a bungee cord as far away from the founding of Islam as you can, and that the further you get away, the bungee cord tightens and tightens and tightens until eventually it snaps back and drags you straight back to the 7th century and Muhammad and what he did. That's it. So Ambassador Bolton, he was on record obviously as supporting the Iraq invasion very heavily. I don't think it matters anymore. It really doesn't. I think these people were dumb to do it without considering how you deal with Islam. The rules that apply to, destroying the Soviet Union don't apply to changing any Middle East country into a democracy, except of course for Israel, because Israel's founded on Jewish values. Christianity is founded on Jewish values, and you've got a chance there. We're not Islamic, and that's what keeps us apart and separate from all the neighbourhood. But Bolton, I think in the years since then, has shown incredible knowledge about Islam. I think he gets Islam the way I do, the way some other people in Trump's organisation did, and the way Trump does himself. The statement I always come back to, which Trump said on the campaign trail, was Islam seems to have a lot of hate for us in it. Islam hates us, and within the texts of Islam is a massive amount of hatred towards the unbeliever, towards the non-Muslim, towards people who don't accept Muhammad's prophethood. That's a big deal. And I think Bolton's on board with that, and McMaster most definitely wasn't, and Brennan wasn't, and all of these other, and Comey, and, Mueller. Mueller was the guy that kicked proper anti-jihad training out of the FBI. Brennan did the same thing at the CIA. All of these people look to me as if they were acting in the pocket of the Muslim Brotherhood, whereas Bolton is a guy that the CARE in America absolutely hates. J Street, the anti-Israel lobbying organization, who want to destroy Israel with demographics and Palestinian rights. They hate him. Bolton has written a foreword to a book by Robert Spencer and Pamela Geller. I mean, that's like ground zero of hatred for these guys. So I like Bolton. I don't think that what one thought about the Iraq deal in 2003 actually matters too much today, as long as one has shown signs of learning. And I think he's shown signs of learning. And if we've got another ally for Trump in the White House who really understands the Islamic infiltration and playbook, that's a good thing. So, two things. Let's to recap. Today, later this afternoon, I'll put up on my YouTube channel, that's YouTube user Brian of London, probably put it on Facebook and try and upload to BitChute and the others as well for when it gets taken down and I get strikes. That's the interview with Peter McLaughlin discussing the Islamic roots of the UK rape gang epidemic, and my thoughts on Ambassador Bolton, which also coincide with my thoughts on Islam. So I'm here in the park. It's a very hot day. I'm Brian of London. This is Tel Aviv Forest. It's rising to 34 today apparently. We're getting summer, and next week is Pesach, Passover. Thanks for listening. See you all soon. Bye-bye.